John Ellis, TDA Finance Committee.
David Nutter, a city planner and something of a civic activist.
Holden Mesk, Sunshine Request.
Rick Randall, Mountain Express.
Lou Belaiweiss, Asheville Regional Airport.
Rick Bell, Engadine Inn in Ashton County.
Jane Anderson, Asheville Independent Restaurant Association, also known as AIR.
James Poole, the Foundry Hotel.
Robert Foster, Biltmore Farms Hotel Group.
Rick Mason, Reimagining Asheville Tourism.
Jeff Bradford, Asheville Buncombe Regional Sports Commission.
Sharon Tabor, Black Mountains, Mononella Chamber of Commerce.
Dylan Davis, Asheville Citizen Times.
Jason Stamper with Ash Vegas and an honorary member of the Asheville Sinkhole Society.
Langston Charles and Tecker Bank.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Before we get to the agenda, I want to congratulate Kit Kramer and her chamber for being Chamber of the Year. Every email I get now, I'm reminded of that.
Yes, you are. You will be for at least a year, not longer.
Take it when you
In perpetuity.
That's national, right, Kit?
Yes, it is. National. We won for both states last year. When Himanshu was our chair, he points out that we waited until now to win the national. But it was really fun. We're very honored.
How many chambers are there?
Gosh, I don't even know. A lot. A lot.
Like more than 50.
And we were competing against at the finalists for our size were Ocala, Florida, who's coming here on an inner city visit next year, which is really funny, and Bowling Green, Kentucky.
I bet you'll have a lot of inner-city visits coming in.
I bet we will.
Congratulations again. Okay, to the agenda. Approval of meeting minutes. Everyone had a chance to read them. Any questions? Call for a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Financial reports, Don.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the preliminary June reports. Once we finish the audit, then we'll come back with the final June 30 report. So turn to page 1. In the second column, for the current month actual, you'll see for the month of June, revenue totaled $1.4 million, and expenditures totaled $4.7 million. Expenditures exceeded revenue by $3.3 million for the month, reducing the total for net change in fund balance to $2.4 million. That's in the third column near the bottom.
Before you move past that, do you mind if I point out that there are additional expenditures that have not been posted to June? June's not closed.
Yeah, that's why these are preliminary.
Looks like we've essentially spent the budget. I just wanted to know that.
Yeah, there'll be more revenue and more expenditures to come in. In column 5, percentage of budget used, 96.9% of the budget occupancy tax has been received, and only 76.3% of budget expenditures have been spent, and as Stephanie pointed out, we will have more expenditures that will get achieved. In the last column, percentage change from prior year, occupancy tax revenue is up 9.4% over last year. If you go to page 2, this shows the 75%, 25% split of occupancy tax between operating and park development. Under the operating fund, you'll see revenue reported on page 1 in June relates to the room sales in May. Revenues from room sales is up 7% from the same time last year, and to date we're up 9%. On page 3 is the product development fund. $23.3 million is committed to projects, and $651,950 is allocated to administrative expenditures. Expenditures to date for this fund total just over $2.1 million. We move to page 4, that is the balance sheet for each fund. It gives you a snapshot of the assets, liabilities, and amounts. Pages 5 through 8 show comparative tables and charts for the room sales data. Page 5 charts room sales by month as well as comparative data for the prior year. You see current year room sales are trending slightly above the prior year and the 3-year average for rooms. April, actually that's May, sorry. Room sales are up 11%. And then page 6 provides a monthly breakout. Sales by category. 7 gives you more history of sales by month. And you can see current blue sales are exceeding prior years. And then last page, page 8 provides further information on sales categories and some graphs to show how we're trending. Anybody has any questions?
I just also wanted to point out that, when you're looking at the, page 3 on Tourism Product Development Fund, I just wanted to remind the board that when the, grant cycle was, completed last year, that, the projected revenue through the whole fiscal year coming through June was allocated. So you're seeing a negative balance because, the desire was to put that money to work and to support as many projects in the community as possible. And so I think we're looking good on budget, and that projection seems to have been right on target. But we'll start the fiscal year at 0 moving forward.
Just real quickly, just where you show bed and breakfast revenue, is that bed and breakfast of all types, so that would include Airbnb and traditional and
No, that's traditional.
Vacation rental.
Vacation rental includes all short-term rentals.
Get a bigger piece, bigger piece of the pie. Any questions? Have a motion? Financial?
Second.
Chip, on favor? Kenny Brown?
Yeah, real quickly, I need to get the board's approval for the audit contract fiscal year 2019. It is the same contract as last year, and the total fee is $8,000, which is what they had in their RFP response. So there's no surprises with the contract. I also have a engagement letter that I need to get signed by the chairman and Stephanie. Engagement letter, you'll get that signed by both of you. So I just need approval for the contract, promotion and approval.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Favor? That it, Don?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Turn to tab 3, you can see the recap of staff activities for the month. I think here we've ended the year strong, meeting our performance objectives, for the destination. We have a very, very busy next month coming up, and so you'll kind of see a list of those activities. We'll talk more about some of in
do like a March retreat, you'll recall that we were kind of really embracing the Free Your Spirit theme and taking that all the way through our media platforms. So we kicked off the campaign this spring with a heavy amount of television, broadcast television, and some streaming. We looked at markets that would be useful for us from an always-on radio strategy throughout the spring. And then we continued to follow that idea that we had suggested during the selection process with the agency of the need to be in the right place at the right time and speaking to the right target audience. So we used all of those. We layered that in with some digital partnerships to try to create some conversation with these audiences on a large scale. And so just as a recall, you'll remember that we, as I said, we used the television, which was a recast of the television spot that we had been using the last couple of years while the agency was busy working on others. And then similarly, we looked at some display advertising that would begin to carry that Free Your Spirit theme through all of our advertising. Those were run in programmatic ads throughout the web, as well as on paid social, which performed very well. And then they came to this landing page, this was on the splash.com website, that funneled them into places we wanted them to go. So either looking at things to do in the destination or getting them to places to stay and move out through the web from those 2 points. So just to kind of give you an idea of the performance, the advertising-related web sessions this spring were 3 times higher year over year than past spring. We ended up with 497.5 impressions. We generated 600 wedding leads, which I know Diana's team was very thankful for. That's more than we've been able to generate in the last couple of years. And so that was a good success story and a small little campaign endeavor. The video completion rate was pretty strong, and then we had 700,000 site sessions. So I think that was a pretty good bang for our buck. There are a couple of things that we'll continue working on in terms of generating time on the site, which was just slightly under last year, and bounce rate as well. But overall, we felt very pleased about the performance of the campaign.
What was the spend like this year?
It was a little over $5 million this year to a little over $4 million, so $1 million difference. But the impressions were significantly different. So
How about the site sessions?
the site sessions also were significantly different, like a little over 100,000 last year. So this was quite good.
Yeah, because we didn't see just like 10 or 20% increases, we saw doubles and triples.
Yeah. So at any rate, so we felt, like I said, we felt very good about performance. And so let's pivot to this year's media plan. We talked a lot about where we wanted to go during the strategic planning retreat. I'm here today to give you just a little bit more detail, but not weigh you down in all the granular data that the agency and myself and my team get into every day. But the media objective, of course, is to drive intent to visit within those audience clusters we've been talking about in key markets. And you'll see in a minute that those markets have expanded. The idea this year with lighting and strategic channel choices were to look at what we're using from the standpoint of the season that we're advertising in, as well as preparing visitors for their planning purposes for the season or 2 coming out. So throughout the summer, we're using all of the channels, which also include all kind of focused on all of those audiences. In July, we've primarily been in a retargeting mode as we're getting the campaign that's about to launch up to speed and ready. And as we pivot to that, we'll really kind of concentrate our efforts rather on the base and the grow audiences as we move into the fall season. And that also kind of gets us ready a little bit for people who are thinking about the holidays. We always tend to ride the coattails, if you will, of Grant Park and Billboard, who are doing a lot of advertising around the holiday period. So we'll back out of all of our television, mainly use a digital and search presence during that time. We'll maintain a certain amount of those levels through digital as we move into winter, and then we'll kind of come back strong in spring. So that's the overall. Just as an audience refresher, this is what we shared with you previously. The audiences are still the same at this point, although I will say that once we get to the final, the results I shared with you from spring are preliminary, so once we get through we may alter these depending on how the audiences have performed. And then market selection. Here are the core markets that you're used to seeing: the Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, Hyde, Point Winston-Salem areas in Atlanta. And then these are the markets that we've gone into the last couple of years: DC, Knoxville, Charleston, Cincinnati, Nashville, West Palm Beach, Orlando, and Tampa. And then these are the new markets that we're adding. We started going into these this spring. There's also, we've looked at some of the markets that are hosting new flights, and one of those that we've started on is Dallas-Fort Worth as an opportunity market. But these are mostly in the southeast and on the east coast. And so this is how it plays out in terms of the medium that we're using, the channel medium. So in Atlanta, Charlotte, Greensboro, and Raleigh, we're using television and audio. In the video spectrum, we're using streaming and Greensboro only. And audio is both traditional radio and streaming radio in all of those markets. The other thing you'll notice is that you don't see digital and social in any of these columns. That's because we're hitting the entire states of Georgia and North Carolina. So all of these markets will receive paid social and digital, but it allows us to expand our footprint across the state in other markets as well. And you'll see this on the next slide with a couple of states as well. So again, you can see how that plays out. We are actually using Hulu, but we may end up using some other vendors or partners in the streaming arena, but this is the stand-in logo for streaming. So you'll see we're just doing streaming in a couple of key markets, and not broadcast television. In most cases, it's far too expensive to go into. The difference in the logos, again, under audio is the difference between the markets that are getting just streaming audio or radio versus traditional broadcast, in which case they will receive both streaming and broadcast. And then again, digital will be, and social will be in all of those markets as marked, but you'll see at the bottom, we're again expanding into the states of Alabama, South Carolina, and Tennessee, which are going to cover those areas such as Birmingham, Charleston, Nashville, etc. Any questions so far? So just a quick look at some of the digital partners we're looking at. So we use Verizon and Spotify to great effect this spring, so we'll be using them as well. Pandora is going to be a new vendor. We've actually used them a couple of times in the past, but we're bringing them back in to round out our streaming audio plan. TripAdvisor is always an incredibly strong performer for us. The great thing about TripAdvisor is that last year we were buying the premier destination page, which this year was secured as added value. So TripAdvisor has also been changing that up a little bit, making it more into like a news feed, and so they're continuing to add features to that. So I think this is going to be interesting to see how this performs, and could be a really nice added value addition for us. And then Adara, which has been a robust travel partner that a lot of people use. We have used it in the past as well, has been added back into the mix. Additionally, in the paid social media arena, we'll continue to use Facebook and Instagram, but we've also added Pinterest. Pinterest was one of those social channels that really saw a lot of weight, but as it just recently added more advertising to its underpinnings, and we found that it's a great travel planning. So people are using it for being able to kind of store and collect their travel planning ideas. It's a great opportunity for us to see how that performs. And then lastly, we're using a couple of other partners. I'm going to talk about the Matador Network in just a minute. It's going to be a partnership with REI. Either and Curb, which is under the Vox properties. You might see Vox as on your website. It allows us to serve up some programmatic as well as some intentional content in key areas related mostly to audience interest in food and then kind of lifestyle. And then Truex is going to allow us to kind of bring some of our digital alive, and allows for that engagement and interaction within the ad. So that is another opportunity for us. It's a new partner to try. And as I mentioned, Hulu right now is kind of the key partner on streaming. So let's talk about the Matador Custom Content Series. You'll remember at the strategic planning retreat, we talked about looking and identifying partners who are on brand and works for us. Some of you will remember we've done some work with Matador in the past. We did the Sammy the Dog video, which performed very well. We've done some other content pieces with them. So they're a content that is REI. So we're going to be working in tandem with the agency and Matador, and to a certain extent with REI to develop all of our own content, which will not only run on those Matador channels as we've had in the past, but it will also run through REI's social channels. So that's really exciting. They've got a pretty large social footprint, which allows us to expand our reach into those other areas of people who are interested in destinations like Asheville. And it also has that authoritative voice that gives us additional credibility that we're seeking. So we will be meeting, Sarah and myself will be going to Atlanta fairly soon to start the planning process for developing that content. And then that will roll out a little bit later in the spring. So this is how the media mix looks. We have an 11.459 million media plan budget this year. And the print, as we've suggested previously, will really kind of concentrate mostly on the North Carolina Visitor Guide, the Blue Ridge Parkway Directory, and we have a little bit of print in the coffers for, or in the plan for Black Mountain as well. And then paid search, we've moved paid search, as we suggested we would during the retreat, from our current vendor Simple View over to the agency. They're experts in that arena, you'll recall, have gotten a lot of awards for their SEM and SEO opportunities. So that is moving under the House of 360i, and they'll be able to, I think, do a really good job of integrating that even much more closely with our ad campaign. The campaign, the broadcast weeks, and the streaming video represents still a very large portion of our budget, not quite as much as in the past. As you'll recall, one of the things that 360i did so successfully was note the point of diminishing return for some of the weight in television that we were running. And then we're increasing digital to make sure that we have an additional reach and coverage for that. So one of the things that's really important to note when we look at the size of this media budget is the bang for our buck for the community. And a couple of years ago, we did a study that showed that for every dollar we invest in our media, we see $43 in visitor spending return. Additionally, it generates $3.92 in sales and occupancy tax. So when we're talking about these sums, we have to remember how important it is bringing dollars back into the community that really supports all of these businesses, small businesses, some larger, but through all spectrums of our economy. And so it's not just necessarily lodging. It's not necessarily just food. It supports a wide variety of businesses throughout the economy, and this is significant money, $500 million that this investment will generate over the course of the next year. So I think it's really important when we talk about the media to remember that we are doing this in order to generate dollars back into our community to serve the people of our community. So here's a flow chart. If you turn to tab 5, I know this is a bit of an eye chart on the screen, so it is in tab 5 of your board books. There's also some additional information about the media plan. And if anybody has questions about this, I'm happy to answer it, but I'm going to pivot to the next section, if not. Okay. So, as Stephanie alluded to, we are very excited to unveil the new creative at our September 5th annual meeting. Just a little sneak peek with a cute little picture. That's Otis. We call him Otis. So we're in final production right now. We're in editing. Color correction still needs to happen. As a reminder, our assets are going to include a long-form video that's about a minute long, 2 30s, 4 15-second spots, which we'll use in this upcoming campaign as bookends around other brands' 30-second spots. So you're delivered a 15-second, you have another commercial in between, and then you have another 15 coming out of it. And then we'll have 3 6-second little pieces that can be used through paid social and some of that TrueX, with that TrueX vendor. So we are very excited and hope you will all invite everyone including the audience to come and see it at the annual meeting. Also, next week, Pat and the agency and I will be collaborating on a marketing seminar that is being given to the community. We're kind of already maxed out, as we found out the other day, 200 people from our community. It was open, it's free to the public. When we started working on the agency selection process, it was really important for us to identify benefits to the community that an outside large agency would be able to bring other than what it brought to the table in terms of the expertise it offered us as a destination. And so one of the things we were really excited about in working with 360i is they actually had done some significant marketing seminars for nonprofits in some of their other client cities such as Atlanta and New York. And so they had a good understanding of how to present to people who may not be as well versed in marketing efforts, and particularly search engine and paid social and digital. So they have developed a really dynamic itinerary that will be on the docket for next week during this seminar, and we are very excited about it and appreciative of them bringing their expertise to our community for businesses of all sorts, not just tourism businesses who will be attending this. So one of the other things that we shared with you at launch in the Hospitality Tourism Summit was our Welcome to ADL platform, which has taken a little while to get in development and off the ground, but now that it's here, we're busy trying to activate it in all of the places we need to be. So just to remind you, the project benefits for this, first of all, we wanted to make sure that we provided your front of house staff another opportunity to be able to answer questions. A lot of times people come into those hotels and say, where's parking for downtown? What can I do? How do I get to hiking trails? So we curated all of those most often asked questions and developed this not app but app lookalike that is on the mobile browser that concentrates all of kind of the top things that people are looking for when they come into an easy tile interface. So it not only provides that mechanism for people who are working in the industry on the ground, it also allows for this content to be easily accessible to visitors once they're here and have to bypass necessarily the significant planning portion of their trip and are now just looking for basic information. Hey, I want to go on a hike real quick, where am I going to be able to go? It also, for our partners, extends the visibility of the DTN ads. So they have other eyeballs, and so from the standpoint of our partners, it makes them more accessible to the visitors through too, and then it also allows us to connect customers to and people who visit here to those retail partners. So it's actually a great app, not only if you're a visitor, but if you live here. It's a much more intense site of our website, and so it's really easy to just like get on there and find your restaurant, connect with Open Table or Reserve, and I find it a much more easy user interface of our website. So check it out if you have not. When we roll this out after the summit, we sent some information out. We got a couple of nice little pickups from some local media. Mountain Express, thank you, Brooke. And then we've been really busy working with the visitor center to make sure that we're heavily activated in that space over there. We did a little training for the volunteers at the visitor center. They were so excited. Who knew? They were so excited about this app, and they felt like it would be much more easy for them to convey the information versus trying to turn around and look at a computer screen. So that is starting and going well. Asheville Regional Airport, we actually used some of the discretionary dollars we have from the advertising on the website to be able to purchase some space on the baggage claims digital screens. And then we've also worked to integrate it throughout other parts of the airport, so you can see how that works there. Thank you very much, Lou. And then finally, we've been busy trying to get some of these assets, the collateral, the little cards, as well as the tent cards, out to the hotels. This is an example of how it plays out at the loft. So if you haven't received any, let me know. We'll be happy to get you some. We're in that process right now, just trying to get that information out and take it to hotel properties as well as other tourism partners. We have more than 25 hotels. I think we have maybe 10 or 12 partners that we've been doing it, but we're kind of on the very beginning of making sure we get a lot of this out. And then again, from the discretionary dollars, we were able
there's not a link from
Yeah.
it. But then
And once you,
then you save it.
yeah, and once you get there, then you can basically save that to your screen, and then it's always there, and it will have a little A icon, so it kind of looks like an app. It's very app-like.
It's really nice because it live links to parking
Yes.
rather than having to deal with a separate app for that.
Right. So, one of the other projects we embarked on at the beginning of the year was this Google partnership. We've mentioned it a couple of times, but I just wanted to share with you where we landed at the end of the year. So again, you might recall that one of the big concentrations of our efforts was managing, ensuring that the knowledge panels for businesses were actually up to speed, had all the content information, and were being maximized for the best results by Google. This is where Google is pulling everything from now. It is kind of like the listing data on our website, if you will, too. It's really imperative that you have your information well maximized in this space. So in addition, we, on our team, along with our work with Miles, captured and curated 517 photos, including 360 degree images, so that we are uploading them to the Google My Business knowledge panel. So we are trying to help out our partners by making sure those images were loaded throughout the spectrum of partners based on search. So based on kind of where we needed to put the focus first, was where there was lacking content and where search volume was high. So we have, of those uploaded assets that we have generated, we've received over 2 million reviews since the time that we started this project. And that really is reflective of about 2 million reviews for about 8 months of the fiscal year, quite frankly. It was a pretty big lift, but we kind of at the very end of the last, 20, 25 images uploaded at the end of the fiscal year. And then the other piece of our goal on this was to achieve a strong Google Guide ranking, a local guide ranking. And so that's a little bit more difficult for a destination because we're not going in. There are different ways you receive points from that. One of them is reviews, one of them are ratings. We don't do that. We are not going to go out and rank or rate our partners. But what we are going to do is go ahead and fact check. We're going to make sure that if there are questions in those knowledge panels that aren't being answered, that we go in and answer them. In some cases, you can go in and actually create the question and answer it if it's a question that you know is an FAQ. We're able to make edits and flag photos that are inappropriate. And so all of this, and we're able to, like I said, go ahead and include information that are places that haven't been identified or added. So through all of this, we've achieved a Google Guide ranking of 6, which is pretty good for destination space. Most of the destinations that we know in this Google project mode have only achieved Google rank 5. The other advantage of this project was it allowed us to go back in and really use the content that we were having to put information in our knowledge panel and use these little posts. I'm not sure how long Google's going to continue to allow destinations to do that, but right now it's been really instrumental. It's allowed us to receive 4 million impressions. Miles says we are the best destination, and they're working with quite a few destinations on this program, over 100. But we are the best that is has in terms of success on this, of using our own content and infusing it into the knowledge panel with these posts. So why is this?
Sorry, before you move past that, I think it would be, any media in the room, this is a great opportunity to let area businesses know that if their Google panel is not accurate, that we can help them with that. I just recently looked up the hours of a downtown business on a Sunday, and it said it was open, and I got downtown and it was closed.
Right.
So I think this is a really great resource and a way that the CDB can be helpful to local businesses, and it would be great to help get the word out about that.
Yes, and in fact, we did a training and some workshops this year for over 80 local businesses, and not necessarily just those in the tourism space. And we've achieved trusted verifier status, so as Stephanie said, that makes us uniquely qualified to help businesses as they're trying to get their information out. Why is this so important? Well, Google, again, this spring is kind of consolidating and expanding its footprint in travel. If those of you who use Google Maps noticed, it used to be that you Google, when you bring up Google Maps, you would see like this top bar of stuff. we're making it very seamless in Google Maps at this point. So, it's important that we simplify that trip planning process, or that Google's doing that, and that we infuse our content into this space. This has been kind of a discussion in the travel space about how much Google is expanding. In many ways, it's very beneficial. It's certainly beneficial to travelers, but we want to make sure that our brands are represented well in this space, and that is why this project has such importance to us. And lastly, I'm just going to touch on a couple of key public relations efforts from this spring. We had quite a few opportunities on the road. We were at the IPW Media Marketplace. Dodie was, along with Diana. In June and April, we were meeting with media at the 365, which is the state's tourism conference. Sarah was up in New York City on a media trip in April. And then also in June, we were at Dodie is actually one of the officers in the Travel and Tourism section of the National Public Relations Society of America conference. And in that role, she has helped to actually bring media to the table, which is great because it builds those relationships with media in a much closer fashion than just attending the conference. But she was in Philadelphia and hosting media while she was there. So just to touch on a couple of touch points. A couple of key opportunities we had this year was we worked with Jane Black. Jane has come to Asheville a couple of times. She writes for a variety of different publications, including the Washington Post. We worked with her on a trip that she made in April to discuss Appalachian food traditions, and that story ran in the UK edition of Condé Nast in June. We also worked with a reporter from the Washington Post to help build a very uniquely focused Asheville itinerary, included some outdoor time, and so Asheville was included in 4 mountain towns to visit this summer that just ran recently, as in this past week. And then Kelly Acciardo, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, was visiting in May. This was an opportunity to get some content into brides, which again, with destination weddings and weddings in general is an important market for us, particularly on the group side. And so that was published in July as well. And then the PR team actually responded to HERA, which is Help a Reporter Out. It's a regular site that throws out leads to PR people that we subscribe to, and then we follow up on those with the hope of getting our pitch in front of that writer and that they bite. In this case, the person did, and so this journalist included Asheville in a very spring flower focused story that was published in May. Just a couple of other notable clips. We've mentioned some of these previously. I think the Rolling Stone one was really exciting because this is the outcome of a 2-year effort, 2 or 3 year effort that we've been working on in the music initiative. It's always great when you can get in these other high profile publications. The Matador one, even though Matador is a property that we're purchasing for this year, it also still has an editorial component. So when we can get that additional, that additional coverage from an editorial, it just kind of cements what we're also doing in the pay. Just a quick last slide, wrapping up. Here are the numbers for the years, as Stephanie says. This always is going to fluctuate a little bit each year. Sometimes it's just based on the size of a publication year every year, which is going to make a difference in impressions. But I think overall it's a very strong number for our destination and one that many other places would really love to have. So with that, thank you very much. And if anyone has questions, I can take them. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to share a few of our recent public affairs things with you, starting with an update on the African American Heritage Trail project. And we are all familiar with that. And we kicked off the project with an event on May 17th, and that was the opening reception at the Arts Council so we brought in Dina Bailey, who was introduced to us through PGAD, and she did a presentation telling the whole story. She has a lot of great experience doing similar projects in other parts of the country, doing community engagement around historical projects. And so we had about 80 people attend. It was a great success. We had great food donated generously by DoubleTree Dining Innovations. We also had a chance for Stephanie had a chance to address the crowd, as well as Dewana and Anthony on that lower right there with the YMI board, so they could talk about what they were doing. And Catherine Mitchell and Veronica Gunter are the applicants who brought the project to us to begin with. So Catherine Mitchell also was able to talk about the project to the group. The lovely young lady up there is Anthony's daughter, and so she did some poetry to sort of set the tone for the night. And we think it was a well-received event. So after that, the project team came together. That was actually earlier this month. And the project team is made up of a PGAD representative. We're working with Doug Nickrit. And also they are brought in Dina Bailey, as I mentioned, and then Kimberly Hunter. Kimberly Hunter is from our community, and she's working as a liaison to help us out through this project. And then we have Catherine and Veronica, who are the applicants, as are the advisors, and of course Explore Asheville staff, which is me, Stephanie, and Marla. And so right now I don't have a whole lot of details to share with you because we're still refining that, but on the top level, next steps are to develop an online information packet, and that's something that we can start to share with the community to really let people know, the purpose of the project, why the BCTDA is involved, how it's going to work, to also enforce that this is going to be an open and collaborative process. The next we plan on distributing a survey and then hosting 2 workshops. So the first workshop would be in early October. We envision these being like on a Saturday morning at a community center. And then the second workshop would be part of the African Americans in WNC and Appalachia Conference, which is held every fall at UNC Asheville. And the TDA is actually the sponsor of that conference as well. So as more details develop, we will certainly share those and be communicating those dates and times with the media and our partners. And a couple of other, switching gears to general partner engagement. Just wanted to look back and see and let you all know that our partner base is growing. We have over 1,300 tourism partners now that we're communicating with. Our mail list is over 1,700. We're sending out, our monthly newsletter talking about opportunities and events and your news. Every month we have a really pretty good open rate of 25 to 35% each month. And this past year we added 150 new tourism partners. And this pie chart just tells you that we have a pretty good reach as far as different types of partner categories or businesses that we're talking with. And also we are enlisting contractor support. We've brought on Terry Wells, who is the salesperson, or she's helping Saga City do sales for the visitor guide and map. And she's also going to be working with us because she's out on the street working with businesses to help them, new businesses, become aware of what we're doing and Explore Asheville and help them plug into our platform. Here's a quick run through of all the major events that we did this past fiscal year, and you're familiar with most of them: the annual meeting, the holiday party, hospitality outlook. They're very well attended at this point, and we're pleased to see that partners think that they're worth their time in participating in our different events. And the other thing we did this past year is set up, offer 2 sessions. So if we're doing a partner forum, we'll duplicate it. We'll offer it in the morning and in the afternoon. We've done that as a way to respond to partners who say certain business categories always have a problem with a certain time of day. So there's a lot of effort on our staff's time to prepare for these events, and so it makes sense to offer them a couple times a day if we can, to reach as many partners as possible. And in addition to the major events, we're also hosting monthly orientations. And this is just a reminder for you, if you have new staff or staff who is interested a really effective and efficient use of our time. These are the certain things, the topics that we're covering at these. And one of the major things that has been a benefit is people don't get a chance to see what our advertising is like. So we'll share examples of our advertising because it's done outside of the market. And so, this really gives people a good understanding of like how we're, promoting and presenting the destination and all that it has to offer. And then of course, everything is about telling them how they can plug into the free opportunities as well. And so we think this education is really helping us because everyone, we explain that all the advertising ties back to our platforms, our website, our visitor guide, those sorts of things. And so it's so important for them to keep their information up to date on these platforms. And we put a lot of effort into maintaining the integrity of this data. And so this past fiscal year, we had over 2,400 user updates. What does that mean? That's like people updating, their description, their hours, their amenities, new pictures, videos, social, also creating packages and coupons and uploading events. So every one of those updates has to be reviewed and approved by our staff. And if there's, we've got Joe Phelps on the public affairs team and Charlie Reed in marketing doing that, and it's quite a bit of effort. And they're really staying on top of like keeping that information, it's clean and up to date and correct. So if there's a problem or discrepancy with, a price or something like that, they're doing that work to call them and reach out to the partners to make sure that we're putting like good quality information on the website. And I think this is an interesting stat. This fiscal year, 30% of our partners logged on to the extranet. So that basically means every business that's listed on the website, they've got their own extranet access where they can log in and control what they're listing and their information looks like. And 30% of those people have been engaged with that system. That's an increase from last year, which was 20%. I think what's even more interesting is that the DMO average level of engagement is around 9%. So we have a very engaged partner group.
How much does it cost to be listed on exploreasheville.com?
Zero. And we hear from a lot of people that they have a lot of different platforms in town and calendars that they could participate in, and so we're really pleased that they think that ours is worth putting that extra effort into.
And all this information that's updated through the extranet goes on the Welcome to PME online.
Yes, exactly. It pulls through.
And it's in the visitor guide and the upcoming
Yep.
certain categories.
Okay, so new topic. Just want to update you on where we're at with the RAD wayfinding process. So as you know, we have embarked on a process to develop or design a wayfinding system, intra-district signage for the RAD area. And the idea is there's so much construction down there. We know that it needs wayfinding, but we're not ready to do it yet. We want to wait until construction is complete. And the city intends to do that sometime in 2020. But so as leading up to that time period, we started a community input process. And so we held the first session in January. This is a picture from the event. It was held in the River Arts District in that 14 Riverside Drive building. And we brought in Merge. Merge is the design firm that worked with us on designing the original wayfinding system. And so they came in and they did a deep dive discussion with the artists and organizations that are located in the district to figure out, how their customers are getting around the district, what kind of questions do they receive on a regular basis, what ideas do they have that they think would be really helpful to help orient people to this district. And so they did that, they've taken that feedback and now they're coming back to do a second part. And so they all have some designs to show, to get some feedback on that and help us like further refine what we're gonna do. So that's coming up. That'll actually be in this room. It's on Monday, August 19th, and we'll have 2 sessions. There's a 2 p.m. and a 6 p.m. and we'll start sending out invitation and communications on
So I'm getting, mixed feedback on whether people want to hear TMIP or Tourism Management Investment Plan. I like to say TMIP, so I hope everybody will keep up with me on that. Just as a reminder, there are 4 phases for this project. The first phase is assessment and was designed to be a time period where the consultant team could gather data to provide a foundation for the community to be all working from the same set of data as we move forward into future phases. The second phase is discovery. We've always intended that the second phase would be heavily focused on community engagement. And so we're kind of overlapping as we're wrapping up work on the phase 1 report and also planning for the public presentation and discussion of that report. We are moving into the public input phase. So the 2 primary ways for the community to get involved and provide their feedback is 1, through a community sentiment survey. The survey was fielded last week and has been in the testing mode, and this week we'll be rolling out help, asking for help from the media and the city and the county and the chamber and all of our related partners to get the word out and ask people to help take the survey that will help us better understand what the priorities of the community are for managing tourism and making investments of occupancy tax dollars that help to sustain the quality of this place for the people who live here. We also will be holding 3 public input workshops. They've been scheduled. We try to offer a variety of times throughout the day to make it convenient for as many people as possible, and also to offer an alternate location for the convenience of communities nearby. And so they'll be August 15th, noon to 2 at the Banquet Hall at the Cellular Center, August 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Eddington Center, August 16th from 9 to 11 a.m. back at the Banquet Hall. And so children are welcome to come, and we just hope that everybody will come out. The project team, it'll be a workshop format where there'll be lots of opportunity for one-on-one discussions with the project team for people who want to share ideas. They'll be incorporated into the planning process, as well as some workstations to be able to really think through some of these key issues and document the feedback. Are there any questions about that?
You said there's a survey that's out, or you're about to push out?
It's been in field testing, and so we've got a series of communications that will drop today, and then we'll ask for just sharing to get as much participation as possible.
Will there be additional workshops, and will they be in other parts of the county?
We are currently not planning that. We're open to doing that at a future time, but kind of trying to figure out a location for that was difficult. So, but yeah, we could do that in a future phase. We also, the project team is, meeting with city and county and additional municipalities throughout the county as well. Thanks.
Just a reminder, which was mentioned earlier, Gary, annual meeting, so that's invitation will be going out soon. You can save the date, and again, it's the 3 to 6 p.m. time frame. And the last thing I just wanted to show you real quick, when we a little tour of this, is so our industry website is ashevillecbd.com. We recently had to rebuild the back end of this just to stay up with technology and get an updated theme. But that gave us the opportunity to sort of reorganize some of the content on this website. And so I just wanted to point it out to you. Up here on the right, we've moved all the BCTDA information up here. So this is where you can go and get information on the meetings, all of the board documents, everything that's distributed at these meetings and schedules like that. And then all of our navigation here is the same, but we've also created some placeholders. Before we didn't really have a spot to kind of highlight some of our newer initiatives. So here you can scroll through this, and then we created a different sort of news section where we have information on all of our press releases that we do if you're ever looking for that information. We also are sharing stories from the community the work that our local partners are doing. So if you have stories that you can share with us, we now have a place to host them, so we'd love to start receiving that. And of course, we have a section for our, for perspectives, information from Stephanie and stuff like that. So it's very similar, but slightly reinvented and hopefully more useful. And go back to the PowerPoint.
I'm up here today just quickly to give you an overview of something we're doing. Basically, the meeting we're doing with tourism attractions. Many of you probably aren't aware we're doing this. This is in the vein of what we've done in the past with the arts community, music, food. And so it's an initiative that we started, and the idea is to convene these tourism attractions and create a bit of a network. And so with that network, they'll be able to partner with us, expand partnerships, create new opportunities. And so to be a tourism attraction for this event, it's a business that offers a unique attraction experience, but it has a fee attached to it. And then the other caveat to this group is that it does exclude art and music related attractions. And that is the reason we're looking at 170 instead of about 400 that you saw Pat's chart a minute ago. And there's a big piece of that chart, a big percentage was attractions. But they already have their groups and they're working together already, so we're doing this for
Can I just also point out that, fee-based is as differentiating from like the Blue Ridge Parkway and other attractions that are sort of natural amenities that aren't really a business that's selling an experience. And it's been really exciting over the last 2 years, I'd say especially, that since we're doing the CDB 101s, there's been such a wide variety of new kind of tourism entrepreneurs in Asheville, from yoga tours and literary tours and outdoor recreation experiences that include, like yoga and hiking, or, experts in all of these different fields. So it's been really exciting to kind of see the expansion of the things to do in Asheville and the support that these entrepreneurs are getting from tourism.
Yeah. These two guys are the ones that are sort of facilitating it. Most of you, or many of you, know Ken Stamps on the right here with Navitat. He's very involved with the Explore Asheville with TDA. On the left is Jeff Greiner with the Adventure Center of Asheville. And Ken actually approached Stephanie many months ago about this idea, and that's what's sort of driven it from the beginning. And we agreed that it was very good for us as for them. We've had 2 quick meetings in April and May, and so we had what is felt a very good number of attractions to attend the meeting, as 35 and 28 individual attractions. And so they wanted to get together quickly before they kind of got into their summer and their busy season, where they needed to take a bit of a short hiatus during that time. There are 3 goals to this organization. As I mentioned, supporting and leveraging the work that we do already, and maybe bringing in some new opportunities that we didn't have before, especially because of the network that now may exist. Where they want to grow and strengthen their businesses, and then they want that network because many of them had never met before. They were in this room and they were introducing themselves left and right. They just never been in a room before where they recognized each other in the same line of work. So now they were talking partnering opportunities between different elements of this group of businesses. So they identified 2 quick goals, and one was a communication platform. And so we created Kessler on our marketing staff created a Facebook group called Asheville Attraction Partners Collaboratives, the Facebook group. And you have to answer a couple of questions to get in. It's really geared toward the attraction partners. And then they wanted to do a survey. So they wanted to understand the marketing, the branding, the demographics, who they're working with, who they want to work with, and so forth, including do you have a brand, do you have a brand promise if you have a brand? And eventually, based on the survey results, and we have 30 so far, and we'll be going through these, or I'll be going through these and compiling the responses to see what the overarching issues are. We'll work with probably a couple of consultants to come in and help this group. And then I think they also want to do CDD 101, as Pat mentioned. We're doing a few of those with individual groups, and this is a group that seemed to really be interested to do that. So I believe that is it. So that's all. Do you have any questions about this group?
here's what I can say coming out of that work session, is that there's a majority of council that, is, that is not interested in seeing the 2020 elections happen under the legislation that has been passed. So, does everybody make sense? We do not want the 2020 elections to happen under the scheme that is currently in place. I think, we're still exploring, exactly, how to affect that. And again, the two options are litigation versus a charter change. If I had to guess at this point, my guess is we would be leaning toward a charter change. The timing of that, I think, is still a little uncertain. But that's, I think, where we're headed.
What's the charter change? Is that something you can explain?
Yeah, so the city, has the authority to change its charter with regard to elections on certain things. So the things that we can change are whether we have districts or what those districts look like, and then whether we have a primary or whether it's just a general. So the current, the bill that was passed in Raleigh, the current system that we're under right now, says no primary and then the five districts and one at-large district. And I think, again, the majority of council is interested in eliminating the districts and putting back in place a primary. So if that's the way that goes, the primary would be in October of next year. And then just like it's always been, primary in October, general in November. It's just that it would be happening in an even year instead of an odd year. The year that the elections happen is a thing that we cannot change in the charter. That's solely the purview of the legislature. Any other questions about?
So perhaps some version of at-large and districts, or?
Well, again, I think a majority of council right now is no districts. Like, let's just reset to what we had before. And, I think there's a difference of opinion about whether then we would want to have a conversation in the community about whether to have districts and what they might look like and that sort of thing. But there's a majority now that just wants to reset it back to where it was. Again, the one thing we can't change is the year. So then the other thing, I guess, that's been getting some attention that people in this room might care about is the suggestion for a time-limited moratorium on hotel construction in the city. And we'll be having the first conversation about this at the Planning and Economic Development Committee. That is, I think, August 29th. It's not our normal day. Yeah, August 29th at 4 o'clock. And I think the impetus for this is pretty clear for anybody who's been paying attention. We've had a number of hotels come through council. We have votes falling on different lines. It's pretty clear everybody's applying a different set of criteria to approving or not approving hotels. And we've been talking for several months now about the desire, the need to get some set of criteria in place that we can all use, so we're all sort of looking at these projects in a similar way. And what this moratorium would do, in my mind, is just sort of put the brakes on, give us a chance to get those criteria in place, and then we will go on. So the period of time we're looking at for the moratorium under North Carolina law, you have to have a reason for a moratorium, you have to have work that you're doing in that time, which I think we will, and then it has to be time limited. So my guess is we will be talking about somewhere between 6 months and a year. And I think the other question that is not yet resolved, or some of us, myself included, would like to approach this problem in the same way that we did short-term rentals and the pit of despair, which is to put together sort of a community advisory committee that would help develop, make recommendations on what these criteria should be, so that this isn't just council and staff doing all this together, so it doesn't feel quite so top down. One thing we do know is that Deborah Campbell is gonna be bringing in some experts from the Urban Land Institute to help us have this conversation, and make some initial recommendations that then, again, I would hope we would sort of pitch into, a more public, discussion and this advisory group, so that's.
Just a comment to the moratorium. The BC, in case there's any misperception out there, this board has not taken any action on either supporting it or not supporting it. And we're not gonna take a position on it at this time. And, we will continue to function as we currently are, which is to drive visitation to the community for economic vitality, and we will leave it up to the city council to come up with policy and collaboration with city stakeholders, as you mentioned, so that's kind of our position on it right now.
Mr. Chairman, we frequently do have opinions and want to express them, and if I might, would it be okay with you if I make a
Well, you're
statement?
chamber of the year, so how can I tell you?
Well, our community has experienced growth and change, and not everybody has benefited. And we recognize that people have mixed feelings about hotel development. We also respect the right of property owners and the value of tourism. And if council does move forward with a moratorium, we'd ask you to do three things, some of which you have indicated this morning. One of which is to specify a time period, and to use that time to create a common sense, predictable development policy. Second, to ensure that that policy enables healthy growth, while they work to address economic well-being for every resident through thoughtful infrastructure that growth can help fund. And third, let the city staff manage the process. You've heard that from me before, Julie.
I think that is not helpful, but yes.
We encourage our leaders to not to pit one section of the economy versus another. Each industry has a ripple effect on all the other aspects of the economy. We need healthy, well-balanced growth. So I appreciate your allowing me to say that. Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
I think that's my report from the city, unless anybody has any other.
Commissioner Belcher?
Yeah, I got a couple pretty simple comments, I think. We've been busy the last couple of weeks, but the last couple of days, this is an intense strategic planning for the county. Looking towards 20 years out. And we had very good sessions with the commissioners and department heads. I thought it went pretty good. You know?
Oh, yeah.
It went real well. And we have a board that communicates very well with each other. The current board. So both days went very well. Also had an opportunity to visit with Mr. Presley, the Carolina Day School, the Horizons project in Massachusetts. Working with over there and the others. So it's just a great opportunity to go and see what they're doing for some kids in the city and out in Ayers Creek area. Most of the kids that we were able to see. So it was a great program. I was very encouraged by it. So, and most of what we're doing right now is just housekeeping and planning and
That's about the shortest one you've ever done.
didn't have anything else. Budget done, lights are done, so.
Life's good, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Any miscellaneous business? Anyone? Comments from the general public? Oh, yes, ma'am.
One thing I wanted to mention, that you're all invited at 1:30 today. We're gonna be celebrating new sculpture on the grounds at the Visitor Center. We commissioned 3 pieces by local local artists that include Pamela Holthauser, Dwayne Barton, and Ralston Fox Smith. And if you come, we also happen to be serving cake for Chamber of the Year. So we're super excited to add some additional color and diversity of the types of art that we already have present in the visitor center. And so welcome people to come and enjoy it with us, because we're hoping over time to continue adding sculpture to make the visitor center a unique place to visit, even more unique than it is right now.
What time is that, 1:30?
It'll be at 1:30 today.
So come for the cake, stay for the sculpture.
Yes, exactly right. And I will also add, we'll have a dip jar for school supplies. Himanshu has been encouraging the community to support the United Way School Supply Backpack Drive, and we'll have a dip jar there. It's very easy to dip your card and make a contribution. So we welcome you to do that as well.
Mr. Foster.
Yeah, just two things, really cool updates. Joe and the county, I was at a Special Olympics picnic this last weekend. It's a phenomenal program that the county provides for folks in our neighborhood, and just wanted to recognize that. The county does a lot of that, and I appreciate it. The second thing is Sweet Dreams Full Plates is coming. You saw the logo on the screen. We're up to 42 hotels. We started with 5 3 years ago. We're at 42 hotels this year. In September, we've raised over $20,000 in sponsorships, and we're planning to do just about $50,000 to $55,000 this year, which comes out to somewhere around 225,000 meals for Manna. And that's all done by the hotel industry. We're starting to kind of expand from that. We have a lot of vendors that are getting involved. We're finding that we're opening a lot of new doors for Manna when it comes to vendors that work in our business, which goes back to all these businesses that benefit from tourism being such a strong industry in our area. So they're all getting involved in donating time, money, and different things. So if you have any ideas in a way you can get involved, or you want to get involved, it's up on our site. You can look up for Sweet Dreams Full Plates. You can buy shirts, stickers, or come to one of the events and just support it. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Rob.
I would like to mention, with respect to our largest single project in Asheville, the $1 billion I-26 connector, that I've have the privilege and the pleasure of serving on a new city committee, the I-26 Connector Aesthetics Committee. We're working very closely with NCDOT, and I think very successfully, in particular to thread in the city's network of greenway projects into the design of the I-26 connector. I just think this is going very well, and I wanted to report on that positive process.
Thank you.
Dave, since you're on the Community Leadership Council, will you connect the dots in the tourism management planning process and make sure that that's on the project list to explore and collaborate on?
I'd be happy.
We'll make sure that happens, but I just want to highlight that that's a perfect opportunity to represent that and bring that into the group's discussions.
Yeah, and let me add to that. I mean, my understanding is that this is, that sort of the finishes on the I-26 project are, including some greenway connections and other things, is on the city's list that they should be talking to the consultants about. And let me just say, as the committee has done its work, it is incredibly exciting. So the crown jewel of this project really is going to be the reinvention of the Bowen Bridge as a pedestrian and human-scaled road and gateway into downtown. And the designs that are being recommended by the aesthetics committee, I've actually gone back into the historic records and found the original recommended design for the bridge that was not built. And what I'm talking about is if you're on the bridge, like what the railings look like and what the end caps and things like that. And they're really recommending going back to this original design that was never built, probably because it might have been too expensive. But there's an opportunity here to just create, for that bridge to become a destination for people, not just as it is gonna be beautiful and it's probably gonna be expensive. No, it is going to be expensive. But it is, in my mind, having sat on this board for 3.5 years, exactly the kind of project that I think is, makes sense for TPDF and makes sense for this team that would process. The DOT funding for these kinds of things is pretty crazy. So every project includes a 1 to 1.5% allocation for they call it landscaping, but that's only literally for things that are on the ground. Or come out of the ground, not for things like lighting or signage or making things really beautiful with anything other than plants. And so it's kind of crazy because there'll be about $12 to $15 million for essentially landscaping, and then all of this other stuff that we want to do to make this the bridge and other connections into greenways and that sort of thing. We're going to have to pay for that ourselves.
Is there a plan in the master plan to beautify Patton Avenue on the other side?
When you say the master
Like in the
plan.
bond projects or anything like that?
No. There needs to be a different planning process for that. What we can do in the context of this project is only what's in the bounds of the project. So it will be, it's only that stretch sort of from Regent Boulevard up to Cleveland. But anyway, it's as I think as those recommendations start to come out, and they are going to come to council later this fall, I think everybody will be really excited about what this is going to be like. And Dave's really been very helpful and important in that process.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Steffi Rausch again, and I'm with Citizens Climate Lobby. And I'm here to give you sort of an update on this energy innovation and carbon dividends bipartisan federal solution to climate. The reason why we feel it's important to tourism, obviously, is because when, obviously we need to secure our natural resources, our economy, our jobs, etc. And so this does affect all of us, and we need more business leaders to speak up. And so we are here again asking for more endorsements from business leaders like yourselves. Just like today, there are citizens speaking to Congressman McHenry at his town hall right now as we speak. Just to give you a little bit of an update on this Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividends Act, it's gotten a slew of support recently. As you know, the U.S. economists, 3,500 of them and every economic advisor to the president since Ford, signed on to a statement in support of carbon dividends. Because again, when the money goes back to the people, it gets funneled back into the economy and helps job growth. It also gives predictability to the markets, which businesses like. Now there's a European economist statement in support of carbon pricing. The faith community has really come ahead on this. The Pope voiced his support for carbon pricing. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops actually endorsed our bill. The Episcopal Church also endorsed. The Unitarian Universalist Association endorsed. The Presbyterian Church of America endorsed. United Church of Christ endorsed. The U.S. Conference of Mayors has passed a resolution last week that urged the United States Congress to pass legislation that imposes a price on carbon emissions, sufficient enough to reduce carbon emissions, which ours does. There was a health climate statement that was recently published by 70 health organizations, including the American Medical Association, American Heart Association, American Lung Association, and 67 others, saying, put a price on carbon. The worldwide momentum around the world is that now Canada is now giving back carbon dividend checks to their people for the first time. Ireland is now currently negotiating a carbon pricing policy similar to Canada's plan. Netherlands is now talking about it. The Mexican president spoke at a Fridays for Future rally about this policy, with Panama's youth leaders went to a presidential open forum to discuss carbon fee and dividend as well. McHenry recently was at a roundtable hosted by the Nature Conservancy last week with Bank of America and the reinsurance company and several others to discuss the impact on the finance industry, which he acknowledged is true. So climate does affect all of us. It will affect the economy, it will affect our jobs, it will affect our lives. We also hosted a private meeting with the brewers with Congressman McHenry just about a month or two ago. And so 5 of the brewers, we were hoping for 10, but it was beer week. Only 5 could make it, but it was a very productive 1-hour meeting. So I encourage you again, just like the brewers stepped up and had a conversation with the congressman, we need more business leaders to step up. And with more money in people's pockets, it will be invested into tourism, into real estate, into insurance, into people coming here. So it does help. So individually, as business leaders, if you would like to endorse this legislation, I am meeting with 2 people here, board members, after this meeting, and I would encourage you to also attend if you would like, and if not, you can certainly meet with me separately. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tim?
Good morning. Again, I can't say thank you enough to each one of you for your support of the Sports Commission and continuing on. Julie and Joe, thank you both for being advocates for the Sports Commission at the city and county level. Had a great weekend this past weekend. Spartan was in town, and numbers were about where they were last year, which is about 9,000, plus about 3,000 to 4,000 spectators. I think Sharon and Black Mountain really, and Chip was mentioning it was a very busy weekend in Black Mountain, but it was a busy weekend in Asheville. I've had a couple of hoteliers come back and already say, hey, what's the Spartan weekend for next year? Because it does bring heads and beds to town. It gives us great profile. Again, it's using our natural resources, so we don't have any infrastructure costs. And then all of the money, I think it's really important to say this, all of the money that Hedrick Industries gets for the rental of the facility and then their Rock the Quarry race in September, so if you are into 5Ks, excruciating 5Ks, I can speak from experience. It's a great event, but the money for both events that goes into Hedrick then is directly donated back to the Black Mountain Children's Home, but also Asheville Museum of Science. So it's a great event for our community, but it also reinvests in our community. I think last year they gave between $30,000 and $40,000 to those 2 charities combined. Got a lot of other things that are going on, maybe not as high profile, but we have lacrosse, and then it's time for soccer season, so it's time for Riverside Shootout, and I think that's 2 weekends in August, and then but we're just really excited about everything that's going on. Got a few things in the hopper, so we're going to continue to work on that. And I would be, again, remiss if I didn't thank the staff for all your help and collaboration and just the support that we have here as being a partner in this office. So look, if you do not like Facebook or Twitter or social media, if you're not liking the Sports Commission and getting one of those feeds, I would encourage you to do that. Andrew on our team does a really good job of trying to send things out, especially about some of the events that you would not know that are in town. They just look, soccer players look like soccer players. So Spartan finishers are a little bit different. But anyway, again, thank you for all you do, and look forward to continuing our collaborative.
Can you mention the Aston Park improvements, or the Aston Tennis Center?
Oh yes, so that was exciting. It was like 3 weeks ago now. So we had the dedication of the improvements to Aston Park, which is basically a donation from USTA, USTA Southern in North Carolina, USTA, and was it $35,000 worth of improvements to Aston Park. We had a ribbon cutting. Julie was there to represent the city. But it has new bleachers, more ADA compatible. We were able to make things more ADA compatible for spectators. And these beautiful awnings that are electronic and they just roll out. So if the sun's out and you want to get some shade, or if it starts that 4-letter word in my vocabulary, RAIN, then it's a little bit, you know, it gives some protection there, but it was really much needed. And again, it's where an outside event or an event that we host also makes an investment back into our community. So really thank you for all of your support and helping to make the project successful. And then if you haven't seen it, go by. Looks really nice. It's technically the clubhouse. It's on the side of the clubhouse, but you can use, if it's out, you can see it from the road and all that. Look forward to some more improvements at Aston Park. Our tennis community continues to grow, and that's a direct result of people, the awareness that Fed Cup presents when we've had it the last 2 years. So it was, again, reinvesting. So thank you.
That it? Thank you for your time and attendance.
Oh, I'm sorry, will there be another TBIP meeting after the public input sessions?
You know, we have, yes, the next event after that will be the public report, the presentation of the report, but we haven't scheduled that yet. You probably are aware of this already, that there's a website, ashevillecbb.com/tbip, where you can sign up to be notified of anything that gets scheduled.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Jim and Your Honor, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'd like a motion to adjourn and congratulations on finishing a half hour early.